Hi, it's Keith from the Evangelical Free Church, Stony Stratford, and we're continuing our series of short talks in the Gospel of Luke. And today we're in chapter 21, verses 1 to 4. Jesus has answered all the questions that the various authorities can throw at him, whether it be political, whether it be theological, whether it be to do with his authority. He's basically answered them, and no one has any more questions for him. So not surprisingly, at this point, perhaps he's taking a break. And he's in the area of the temple called the Court of Women. This is where the Jews could go. The Gentiles could only go to the Court of the Gentiles. Foreigners were not allowed in here. And so basically he's observing the faithful coming up and giving money. There would have been several collecting places there, and they would have been giving their gifts. And it says this in verse 1 of chapter 21. As he looked up, Jesus saw the rich putting their gifts into the temple treasury. He also saw a poor widow put in 2 very small copper coins. People were coming in, and the wealthy were giving much, and perhaps making a bit of a show of it. Doesn't say that, but it seems to be giving that impression. But Jesus notices this woman in particular. It's rather interesting that we notice that he accused in verse 47 of chapter 20 of the teachers of the law and the Pharisees exploiting the widows and the poor. But rather interestingly, here's this widow coming in and still giving. She's not bowed down to sort of political or religious system. It's more that she is giving something and wants to give it. Because note what Jesus says. Verse 3, I tell you the truth, he said, this poor widow has put in more than all the others. These people gave their gifts out of their wealth, but she out of her poverty put in all she had to live on. We talk about giving or sort of making a gift from the heart. You know, one of the things that's quite interesting, is sometimes gifts can be sort of quite selfish. I can remember a series in one of the series of The Simpsons. Homer buys Marge a bowling ball. Now, it's quite obviously a gift for him, not her. And out of spite, she then takes up bowling. But this is a genuine gift. This is a gift that really counts. This is a gift that's actually heartfelt and completely genuine in action. So what is Jesus commending here? What's he saying here? Well, I think it says 2 things. This widow truly loved the Lord, and whatever the religious or political system was doing to her, she still showed that love. The other thing is, I think it shows real devotion, but real faith. I can remember a speaker once saying, and I think he made a good point, and he'd lived it because as a church leader, they'd managed to do work on an extraordinary scale when things looked impossible. The money had come in, and they'd been able to make great gains for the Lord in what they'd done and in what they were doing in teaching of the word. And I think we see that here. She takes a risk. She looks for the Lord to provide. There was actually within the law that God had given Moses, provision for the widow. So she gave very freely, confident that the Lord would meet her need. Jesus sees her actions and he judges them as an action that is completely genuine, a heartfelt gesture. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean we should empty our bank accounts? No, but it does say something about if we are those who love the Lord, how we are to conduct our lives. We are to do things in a genuine way. Every part of our service to the Lord is not just when we go to church on Sunday and sit and listen to the sermon or not listen to the sermon, depending on what we're doing. But the key thing is this, isn't it? Our worship is 24/7. It is to not sort of stop when we leave the church. In some ways, it's to start when we leave the church. Heartfelt gestures, real love from the heart is what counts. Just listen to what the Apostle Paul says when he's writing to the Corinthian church. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 9. He says this, "For you know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, that though he was rich, yet for your sakes he became poor, so that you, through his poverty, might become rich." Here's the incredible thing. Christ gave up everything for us. I was thinking about the hymn, Carol at Christmas, where it talks about he whom angels worship. Well, here's the bit that we see. He gave up all that for us. And that shows genuine love. And where did it lead? It led to the cross. We're starting to move into the Easter season, so soon we'll be looking at some Easter messages. But that shows the depth of Christ's love, that he would give up his life, give up his rights, even to death on a cross, to pay the penalty for our wrongdoing and our rebellion against God. Thank you for listening.